Welcome to our pod, and by that I mean on Wednesdays we read. I'm Hannah,
I'm Laura.
and we are two best friends who usually do a deep dive into a new book series, one book at a time. But today we are
We're
three
three best
friends because
friends.
we are welcoming to the pod Mazey Eddings, author of amazing
Yay!
books like A Brush with Love, Late Bloomers, Tilly and Technicolor, and out today, You Won't Forget Me. Mazey,
You
welcome to
won't
the
forget
pod.
me.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
We are so
We're
excited to
thrilled to
have you
have you.
here. I have very few TikToks where I review books, and I've definitely reviewed both of yours, or at least
Oh,
two of
thank
yours.
you. I won't be looking at them, you know.
That's that
You know
good
what?
balance that this book taught us.
I was gonna say, if there's anything we learned from this book, it's stay off of social media.
Oh yeah, it's like it just girl shut down the internet. Like let's not do it.
Well, with that, can you tell us and listeners a little bit about You Won't Forget Me?
Yeah, so You Won't Forget Me is kind of a rock star romance and a sapphic um romance rom-com sort of more like rom dramedy, I feel like, that follows Cubby Clark, the lead singer of a totally disheveled band of ragtags. Her ex-boyfriend recently left the original band to go and have this amazing solo career where he's basically singing about how bad she was in bed and like what a bitch she is and stuff. And so, she's got a little female rage going on there. And she and her new band are working to come out with a record. And then it turns out that her ex stole some of her music. And so in this kind of roundabout weird way, she posts a very I don't know what the right word is, like
Risque.
risque picture, yes, with one of her best friends, Harry, on Instagram, and it goes viral. And she finds herself kind of plopped into the middle of this love triangle between her ex and Harry, and she and Harry are having to do this fake dating, but she's fake dating the wrong person because she's actually totally in love with her best friend Darcy, who's the bassist in the band. And yeah, so it's the two happen to have a few moments of like, oh, we're just like two total heterosexual gal pals that like make out and, cuddle and stuff like that. And
It's
so
totally not queer at all. We just
not
No.
love kissing
queer.
each
We
other.
just love kissing each other and we're so pretty and touching each other. And like, it's just what friends do. Like, what do you mean? What do you mean we're gay? What do you mean? And so yeah, they spend a lot of the book denying these feelings and pretending a lot of these very intimate moments didn't happen. And so it's very much like a coming of age story in a lot of ways. They're young, they're 21, 22-ish, and just making terrible decisions for themselves.
Yeah. I want to admit that during this book, I kept imagining Connor as that actor from the very campy movies, the After series, like the love interest
Oh
from
my
that.
God. I kind of love that. That would be really good though.
I
That would be
was
great
like, he
casting.
is giving me that. And like, in that one movie where he's like, fucking Trevor, I was like, I could definitely see this British
Yes.
man being like, I'm just going to write this book song about Cubby and how
Oh
terrible she
yeah.
is in bed. And I was like, no, he's perfect. So,
I
I
was weirdly picturing Timmy Chalamet, and I think it's because I can't figure out the hype around Timmy that I'm like, it's got to be a guy like
that
him.
that would also eat like a little bit Brat Boy Summer, where it's
yeah,
like, wait,
exactly.
what? What are we doing?
We can all just agree that Connor is a rat. So.
Yes.
Yeah.
Eh.
Rat Boy Winter, honestly. He's too cold. But yeah, no, he sucks. He's honestly the worst. I
He
hate
has a
him
cool
so
name,
much.
Connor Kennedy. Like, I dig it, but come on.
I know. Well, actually, oh, another one of my books.
Yep.
No, his. So this is so crazy. I didn't realize this. In the final copy of the book, his name was changed to, I don't even remember. I think it's Connor McCabe because I realized Connor Kennedy is one of Taylor Swift's exes and
Oh,
an actual
mhm.
Kennedy. And so I was like, oh, wait,
You're
like
like, the Kennedy family might come after me for
yeah, I was
this.
like, you know what? All bets are off at this point. Like,
It's too
I don't want
close.
to draw
So.
attention. Yeah, I don't want to draw attention to the Kennedy family. Or I also don't want to be set told like, oh, this is Taylor Swift fanfic in a weird way. So then I was like, we gotta change this. Like, yeah. And so I just threw in, I don't even, I think it's McCabe in there too. But I know Connor Kennedy is like a real, I love the consonants of that. And,
Yes.
damn the real Connor Kennedy for ridding me of that moment. But,
Damn you, Kennedy
just,
family.
just
In
another
general,
add to
Connor
their list
actually.
of
Kennedy. Yeah.
crimes.
Just
In
another
general,
Connor
actually, I stand by
Kennedy.
that.
Yeah. Yeah. Ruining lives always.
Well, before we get too far into You Won't Forget Me, can you tell us a little bit about you as like a reader or writer? Like maybe some inspirations or favorite books or
Oh gosh. Where to begin? I cut my teeth on historical romance as far as like falling in love with the romance genre. I like was reading, I really got into it with kind of the pillars of historical romance where it's like Beverly Jenkins, Lisa Kleypas, Tessa Dare. Um, and then I found my way into contemporary with, authors like Christina Lauren, Talia Hibbert, was relatively new to the scene when I got into contemporary romance. Helen Wong was a big one for me too. Because it really was just like ride or die historical romance. And yeah, and then as far as like when I started my own writing and things like that, I I had always like loved and idolized authors because I grew up I'm autistic, ADHD, and like the only child of a single mom. So like I had a lot of free times and not a lot of friends growing up. And so like I was reading all the time. And so, I idolized writers in so many ways. And so, I would do short stories and stuff, but it was never a job I thought I could actually have. And then my first year of dental school, I had a bit of an identity crisis and turned to romance as like this balm for my anxiety. And I was reading like a book a night and stuff. And then I had these characters pop in my head and were very voicey and chatty. And I was like, well, the most socially acceptable way to say I'm hearing voices is to like write a book. And then A Brush with Love, my first one, kind of came from that. And so yeah, romance has always been, such a special genre to me. And one that I love because there's so much like playfulness you can do within it, knowing that there's going to be this happily ever after. And you can like push things and try things. Kind of, I like that the genre rules because then you can play with other rules in a really fun way. Um, I feel that, yeah.
what was it
Uh,
like to like I'm sure you've met some of you mentioned like Christina Lauren and Talia Hibbert. Have you met some of them? What was it like to kind of like connect with other authors that you were really admiring their works?
Yeah, it's been it's so cool. One in particular is Tessa Dare, where I got invited to uh um gosh, I don't know why I can't think of, oh, like the Newport Library or no, Orange County Library System out in California. And they asked if I wanted a conversation partner and like Tessa Dare is like like was my intro. Like her book was like my first romance and I was like they do be fucking like this is crazy. I was like big fan. And so she's always been like, I've held this like very special bond or like carry this almost torch for her in a way where it's like, she's the reason I got into the genre and then eventually started writing in so many ways. And so I like tossed her name out there as like a conversation partner. And I was like, there's no way. And then she said yes. And now we like text. And I just think that that's like the coolest shit. Like
I love that journey for you.
I
yeah.
do too. I really love that journey for me too. Like that, I think it's been such a privilege and yeah, truly some of the most interesting people and closest people that I have become my friends that are authors as well.
Yeah.
And so yeah, it's neat and it's wild and like sometimes I have to stop and be like, oh my God, like 2018 Maisie is absolutely shitting herself right now. Like that's crazy. That's
She's
crazy.
that's amazing. I love that you manifested a friendship with her. Just be
I
like, no,
know.
no, no,
I
I
know.
want a partner.
I know.
Like,
I was like, yeah, here we go.
that's so rad. Well, we could definitely go down a author rabbit hole
Oh.
with you forever because we love it. But we are here for a very special mission of talking about You Won't Forget Me. This is a book that is an extension on another work of yours, Tilly, in
Mhm.
Technicolor, which is a
I love that
YA
one.
novel. I just finished it today, and it's the cutest thing.
It's so good. I love
But
it.
it follows Cubby's brother when he's 18, and it's definitely like a little bit more for a younger audience. What made you decide to follow Cubby later in life at the age of 23 and give it like more of an adult vibe?
So Cubby's book was like Cubby has been my white whale like for so long. I think at this point, it like when I finally finished it, I had been working on it for I think at least on and off for like 4 or 5 years. And it was supposed to be a companion novel to Tilly and Technicolor, and so it was supposed to be YA. And the original like pitch for it to my editor was just essentially like this bizarre group that like this this really ragtag band is on this road trip to tour around Iceland, and it's just like all these hijinks and things like that. Um and I think I actually think too in the original pitch Cubby was going to end up with Harry. And then I had like just a real tough go of it. Like essentially, so around that time, I think I was releasing Tilly or like near that, and I was on contract for quite a number of books, and then also was like working as a full-time dentist and stuff. And I was really having a hard time with her story because I was trying to force it into something very like rompy and campy and YA and young. And Cubby was just like, hell no. Um, and yeah, and so it was just this battle over and over to make it work and make it fit. And then finally, like a couple of years into it, I was like, hey, I think at this point, like Cubby's an adult. Because I have aged
I've been writing for
87
five
years.
years,
Yeah,
and she's
yeah.
been going at
Yeah,
it for
I'm like,
5 years too.
so yeah, I'm like, I think that she would just be so much more tolerable if she could get laid. Like at the end of the day, like
Just let her have sex. It's
no,
fine.
yeah, no tea, no shade. Like, let's just let the girl let her inner freak out. No, I think that she was dealing with a lot of depression and a lot of complex feelings that often get categorized as just teenage angst in a lot of ways. And I thought that it was very interesting to look at that from like the queer perspective and coming to it in a somewhat kind of later 23 is not late to come to that realization of your sexuality and stuff, but like I think when people that have known since they were a kid or like identified like that for so long, you can almost feel like you're behind the curve or you just don't know who you are in your 20s. And um yeah, and I think that there's just a lot of petulance with being in your early 20s that's really fun and interesting, and you're kind of like a toddler, but with financial responsibilities, and you pay taxes at that point. And so yeah, it just kind of felt right for her story. And I think that there's that level, and what I was trying with it too was to create that angst and kind of that teetering between being an adult and also making terrible choices and being immature about certain things, because like that's still so young in a lot
Mhm.
of ways,
Yeah.
so yeah, I just it was a journey with her, but things started to click when I like kind of committed to it being an adult story. And yeah, kind of new adult-ish too, might be a better.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it definitely feels new adult-ish. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah.
we do know that Cubby was sex aware though in Tilly and Technicolor because
She sure
he
was. She
he
sure
was
was.
trying to help Ollie out maybe a little too
Uh,
much.
She
she was
said,
so
you
real
should
for that.
practice safe sex. Come on,
Yeah.
guys.
She's
She
like,
had
wrap it
loads of
up.
condoms for him.
Yeah. Wrap it up, bro. Like we cannot be dealing. Oh God, I love Oliver so much. He's like, He's my
Well,
little angel.
when we meet Cubby for the first time, I'm pretty sure Oliver says that he wants to commit sororicide.
Oh
There's,
yeah.
and I think that that's like one of the funniest things. There's a lot of like humor that comes through in specifically these two books. And I really love the relationship between Oliver and Cubby and just like the way that it's very friendly and fun. And there's also like they get so frustrated with each other, but they have so much love for each other too. Like they call each other their favorite person, and there's just like a really great support between them. And I really like seeing the way that their relationship works with the neurodivergence too, because, and that's something I can relate to too, because I have a younger sister who's neurodivergent, and I see like a lot of like our relationship and like explaining things and oh well that's not really the way that I would communicate that to someone, or maybe you should say
How do
this
you
or
talk
that.
about your feelings?
Yes.
Like,
So I was kind of wondering, like, what was it like creating this close bond between these siblings and their moms? And
Yeah.
maybe like what inspired them?
I've just always wanted to have a sibling so bad. And so I was like, I think I played out a lot of scenarios in my head on like what I would do as a sibling and like how I'd be so good at being a sibling. Which I wouldn't. I know I wouldn't, but like, no, I think I yeah, I love the concept of like found family and chosen family, but then playing with sibling dynamics, I think is always so interesting because like my dad's one of six kids, so I have tons of aunts and uncles and a lot of cousins and things, and I grew up loving watching the way that they interacted and teased each other and were, like yeah, just kind of messed with each other and I wanted to try to encapsulate that, especially with, the twin thing with Cubby and Oliver being fraternal twins. And yeah, I think that there's just like this incredibly special bond of coming into the world with somebody. Um, and then for Cubby as well, I think that she feels this a sense of protection for Oliver, even though he might not need it, but I think that she sees just like how pure of heart he is. And I think when with the fact that she does battle with things like, depression and anxiety, I think that she's very motivated to preserve that in him as much as possible and kind of like cup her hands around that flame because she doesn't feel like she has it in herself a lot of times. So yeah, I thought that their dynamic was just really and I like the fact that in this book too, Oliver turns around and, it does things to try to take care of Cubby too, because I don't think she has that a lot, where she's super closed off. So yeah, I just really enjoyed their dynamic, felt very organic too. And so I just kind of let them tell me what to do
Yeah.
and say.
it worked well because they
They're
were
so
very good
fun.
siblings. uh, well, and like you said, Cubby's kind of struggling in this book. Depression's
Mhm.
definitely going on, and we meet her during a time where she's being put under this huge microscope because her ex
Mhm.
published, as we said, a lot of risque songs about her, and she's getting
Mhm.
tons of hate online specifically, and she's kind of becoming obsessive with this. So, like, what made you want to focus in this book and have a theme of how women are often represented online and the interaction with that?
Yeah, I think I find it fascinating and maddening on how much speculation one we give to celebrity culture in general. And like in part of it, like I'm kind of a hypocrite here because I love doing like I love sitting around, bottle of rosé, like, okay, what actually happened between Phoebe Bridgers and Paul Mescal? Like what like what's the tea?
Hannah and I
Yeah.
recently were talking about Hugh Jackman and Sutton Foster for a very long time.
And I was like, that is a
So
specific hyperfixation I cannot bring myself to not
yeah.
care about.
Oh, I know. I know. And I think that that's like, and I think that that's such a fun thing, especially like kind of like the intimacy of it, or where it almost feels like amongst friends where you're gossiping as if you know these
Mhm.
celebrities
Like
that are
we
living like
watched
these very
Wolverine. We know
yeah,
him.
we know. Like we saw him walk that red carpet.
Paul
Like we
Mescal
saw
was
the look.
so online with Phoebe. Like,
Yeah,
come on.
yes.
Yeah.
Come on. She got him to grow a mustache. And so like I think that speculate but it's become very almost like bought into as in as if it's fact, or like we have a right to know, or or yeah, we have a they have an obligation to tell us these things about their personal lives. And then I think that that's magnified even further for women and women celebrities. And growing up in the early 2000s, looking at, diet culture and like what was considered, like where a woman's brave if she weighs like 110 pounds and like is in a bikini, things like that, where there's just like this dissection of women. And I was kind of raised on that, and I've seen it change. And then I kind of see it shifting negatively in a different direction now, and almost where it's like um a purity test on like how good are you, how free of any blame or wrongdoing, have you ever made a mistake, and like those things. I'm also like, we're so deeply invested in these people that we will never ever meet.
Mhm.
um and I was curious kind of what it would look like to be thrust into that, and then be on the other side of it too. And where you're villainized, because I do think that a lot of women are villainized all the time,
Mhm.
and are held responsible for the actions of men or blamed for it. And so, yeah, I thought that that was kind of an interesting um, thing to explore. And then, I think too, I see it even with authors and readers in an interesting
Mm.
way.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
No reader
And
ever gets too involved with the author and their
no,
reaction
What?
never.
to it. That
No.
wasn't
Yeah.
in the news recently. No.
Yeah, no, no, not at all. BookCon, what? But I think, yeah, I was seeing that, like, I don't know, like, so one thing that I thought was weird or kind of struck me once was like, my husband, I started off as a bookstagrammer within the book community. Um, and, for a little while there, I wasn't even showing my face. And then that became too difficult. Okay, as if like somebody, like, okay, wait, too
I'm
difficult. Like
so
that's,
beautiful. I
I'm
couldn't show my
so
face to
pretty. Like,
anybody.
oh my God, I gotta put my face on there. Give the
As
people what they want.
as
That's
I'm
someone
such
also
who
a,
is a
struggling a lot with that,
bookstagrammer
Mazey.
and no, 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 you're speaking my language because I am also a bookstagrammer who finally showed my face after like a year of being on there and is
yeah.
also writing romance novels. So I'm not buying into this at all.
Yeah, no, I was like, that's truly such an unbelievable. I think because I was like, okay, well, I don't have any extra income to get like props for my flat lays. So then like I could only hold it up to so many backgrounds, and I'm like, at a certain point, just what, we're just gonna smile. It's so silly. But I was so deep into that too. But anyway, so I started off as a bookstagrammer, and then it evolved into an author, and my account changed in that way. But um my husband and I have been together that entire time, and he's just always had the boundary of not wanting his face
Mm.
on my page. And like I've never even really pushed why, because he just
Mhm.
said it, and that is what it is. um and I have fun putting like the heinous little gifs over his face if I post a picture of us and everything. But somebody, he had taken a picture of my friend and I who were doing a book event together, and you could kind of see his reflection in the glass that we were standing in front of. And I had more than one person like that I had never met or even really talked to, like zoom in on it, screenshot it, and be like, "We found him." And I'm like, and I don't,
What?
I don't even know that I had 10,000 followers at that point. And I was like, this is bizarre. Like, this is so weird, like
Yeah.
where I'm just like, what? We know too much about each other, and we want to know too much about each other. And but yeah, back to the author.
It's a weird thing though, because
Yeah.
it's like people feel very connected to your works. And so
Yeah.
it's like somewhat complimentary where it's like, oh, my works
Yeah.
mean something to these people, that they feel like they want to have a deeper
Hmm.
connection to me, or that they do. But at the same time, it's like, let's not violate boundaries, people. That is
Yeah.
Yeah.
strange.
Yeah.
Like,
I think what struck me was that it wasn't me. But yeah, I think that there's such an
yeah.
intimate relationship with readers
Mhm.
and authors too. But and I don't ever want to sound like I'm ungrateful for that. I hope I didn't come off like that way, but it's
No, no,
No,
no.
no,
okay. It's
You
absolutely
seem
okay.
very
not.
respectful. Like, no,
It's
and
okay.
and I think this book, like really struck us both because it does speak to a lot of the complicated
Yeah.
relationships, especially through Cubby, because like she
Hmm.
does like some of this, but she doesn't,
Hmm.
and she is an artist, so she's, it's important to her, but at the same time,
Hmm.
it can go very wrong. And
Hmm.
you do such an effective job because I can say I am someone who deeply like emotionally resonates with some things, and I felt very
Hmm.
uncomfortable reading about everything that Connor was doing to her. And I was like, do I need to put this book down for a minute? Do I need to take five?
Hmm.
Do I need to take a lap?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think there's something that becomes addicting too about like almost hurting our own feelings, or
Yeah.
especially with art or putting it out there, where it feels so vulnerable to put it out there that you almost want to like find confirmation that it wasn't good enough to have been
Hmm.
Hmm.
shared. And I think that
Well, that's
that's what
interesting that you
Cubby.
mentioned that because like my next question was kind of like how several of your books deal with like fears surrounding finding your passions and
Mhm.
how people will talk about like, oh, well, it's a lot of hard work to make your way to such and such point, but they don't talk about a lot of the internal struggles, like the guilt and a lot of the pressure that people feel and how it can be, you can take one step forward and be like five steps back and how that can be deeply
Mhm.
saddening. And I feel like
Mhm.
Cubby deals with so much fear over like her pursuit of her passion, but also like not knowing exactly the direction that she wants to go in life.
Mhm.
And I was just kind of wondering what it was like for you to show characters kind of learning to give themselves enough grace to grow without feeling like they have to fit within these certain parameters.
Oh man, that was a really good question. You guys are killing it. Like, you're very good interviewers, and
Thank
I'm over here
you.
yapping my ass off. Like,
We are ready to show our faces before.
yeah, yeah, yeah. That gave me goosebumps. That was a very beautiful question. I think, oh gosh, I think that I, I tend to retroactively realize, what lesson I was trying to teach myself when I'm writing these books. And yeah, and so much of it is it really is subconscious or not intentional at all. Like, my first one, A Brush with Love, was very much about an anxiety disorder, and also, finding your passion, or leaving something that doesn't serve you, or, hurts you, even if you thought it was the thing that you're meant to do. Um, and I think all of those lessons have come to me, as I've needed them. And it's almost like a catharsis, or how I process, the certain things that I'm not allowing myself to do at certain times. And so, yeah, with Cubby, it's very scary to have your life ahead of you and not know exactly the steps that you're supposed to take with it, what you're supposed to create, especially when it's something for public consumption and it's going to be, critiqued, and it's subjective, and nobody will ever care as deeply about your art as you do. Um, and so yeah, I just wanted to look at that, where it's like it's almost this compulsion where you have to put, you can't resist this tug of art and what matters to you and what feeds you, and is kind of your purpose. But then how do you share that with the world or the masses, and keep yourself safe in a lot of ways too, and protect it as yours? Yeah, I don't know that I have a good answer, but I thought it was,
I like that.
oh, thanks.
You
Yeah,
had a
and
beautiful answer because you just said
Mhm.
I write the lessons I want to teach myself. And I'm like,
Yeah.
those are bars. So
I haven't learned any of them, but I would love to one day maybe internalize some of like the moral lessons that I are like, self-love and things like that. That would be so cool.
that'd be so nice to do for myself. I'll work on it
Yeah.
later.
Yeah. You know what? I'll outsource that to my therapist.
You could have done one of the funny things that happens in You Won't Forget Me, where they put the manager Kevin on the spot and he drops a Taylor Swift lyric.
I know. Oh,
I would have died if you would have just
yeah.
tried to do that.
I
Oh,
just I just liked that he had all the musicians in the room and he's like, I'm gonna try this. And everyone was like,
I know.
no.
And they're like,
Oh,
that's our favorite one.
You know what? They had me legal had me tweak that. So what's in the arc is not exactly the same as what's
Oh,
in the final copy because
oh.
they were like, we really, and I'm like, as if Taylor Swift
T
is
Swift
ever gonna,
herself is
yes,
like,
is gonna,
no.
yeah, gonna
She's
pick
like,
up
I
this
have to take
book.
a break from planning my
Yeah,
wedding with Travis Kelce
yeah,
because I'm
yeah.
coming for this one line.
And I was like, okay, but also it's in quotation marks and it's attributed. And I'm not about to argue with legal,
Yeah.
but
I would have been like, are you serious?
I would have been like, really? Okay. I was like, I guess because they gave me like three options, and I was like, I guess this first one's the least bad. I don't know.
It
Like,
doesn't seem fair that you weren't able to include that line, but Hallmark was able to make a really bad movie about their entire love story. So, but they didn't say
well, you
Taylor
know
and
what?
Travis, but
Yeah,
okay.
I agree. Yeah, they made me so essentially now it's like Kevin just botches the lyric, and then they're still like, are you trying to quote Taylor Swift? And so the the point is still there, but I was just
Yes.
like, Kevin, oh precious Kevin, I adore him.
No, no,
He's
He's so
Kevin,
funny.
special.
we now know the insight. Kevin would have never botched that Taylor Swift song.
Yes.
No,
He was
no,
trying
ever,
so hard.
never. He was trying so hard and he thought he ate with that. Like he was like, "Oh my God, this is gonna rock their fucking world." Like, hold
They
on,
never
kids,
heard a
let's
T.
go. Yeah.
They're just an indie band who's not into Taylor Swift.
One of them's Icelandic. Like, let's be so real.
That's
Amazing.
amazing. This is a little bit more like high level, just something I noticed in your work. So I wanted to talk to you about it because
Yeah.
you're right here. I noticed this is like one of your only single POV books because usually
Mm-hmm.
you are a dual POV person. So
Mm-hmm.
what made you pick like I just want to stick with Cubby in this one? And did you like find any new challenges with that you got to work your author brain on?
Yeah. Actually was my other single point of view book. So that was the very first one I did with that. Because we never got Riley's perspective. Um, and with this one, oh, I think I even tried to write some of Darcy's chapters. But I felt like the book in so many ways, like including Darcy's internal struggles, would have pushed the book in a place where I wasn't ready for it to be. Because I think that it's an important story and I think it's really important that, you know, books, movies, media portrays it. But I think Darcy had a very much like a self-loathing journey in a lot of ways as she came to then develop her sense of pride about her queerness and stuff like that. But it was hard because they were both going through a lot of really heavy things. And so I thought I wanted at the end of the day for it to feel like very joyful. And I think that in the middle there with both of them just as down bad as they were, it had a certain like heaviness to it that didn't end up making it feel like the story that I was trying to tell with them. Um, and yeah, and I think too, Cubby kind of has the privilege of being raised in an accepting, queer
Mhm.
family. And that didn't make it, an identity crisis is an identity crisis is you're like, wait, who am I? But like she had this safety and support with that. And I think that there's something so terrible and traumatic that so many people live within family structures that aren't accepting, and that's Darcy's situation too. And so yeah, it just wasn't, I either needed to pick between Darcy or Cubby, like who was going to get their full story told. And Cubby had just always been the one. She's kind of just a very dominant force in my head, so I think that's where that came
Well,
from.
she earned it. She was Oliver's sister.
Yeah, yeah. She's like, I mean, I think that I felt like she stole the show in Tilly and Technicolor too. And so that's why, yeah, I think she had a lot to say.
Well, And I mean, something I did notice, not to step on Laura, but I did notice in quite a few of your books, like Late Bloomers comes to mind, and a little bit in Tilly and Technicolor, you have a lot of complex mother figures that aren't always
Ugh.
good to their daughters.
Hmm.
Late Bloomers is a rough one for mother-daughter
Hmm.
relationships everywhere.
Oh
So
yeah.
in this book, like Darcy's mom is not someone she can trust to be there for
Hmm.
her. And kind of, I know you said like you didn't want to put too much focus on it because it was dark, but you did keep it there to keep Darcy's truth
Hmm.
there. And what was it like kind of developing that, and why was it kind of important to keep that truth for Darcy on her support system?
Because I think it gives a lot of I do want to just also caveat I have a great mom. Like I have a really great like relationship with my mom.
I love how
Um
this happens where authors have to be like, I'm sorry, mom and dad, but
yeah,
I
we're
do
yeah.
doing
love my
well. We're
mom, even
fine.
though
Yeah.
it's
My
just
mom.
these podcast hosts ask me about bad
Yeah.
moms, and that's
Yeah.
I
And
have
I
to
just
answer that question.
every book I just happen to write about bad moms. No, because I think that there's like there's something so fascinating and like can go so terribly wrong with the mother-daughter dynamic and where there it's so easy to pivot into cruelty as a mother or not that it's easy where it's like it can happen so quickly or so easily and then all of a sudden it's just like this super toxic relationship and I think I've just witnessed it and as a third party to a lot of relationships but as far as that goes with Darcy's mom, I wanted to I wanted to, pay truth to the reality that so many people live in. Like I think when you are in queer community or, at least open-minded community, it's very it can not easy, but you can sometimes forget how far back or closed-minded or small-minded so many people are. And then being raised in that environment too, and how much it chafes and is just so kind of degrading to your sense of self when you don't conform to what your parents think or subscribe to or believe. And so I think it informed a lot of Darcy as a character on why she has this very vivacious, lovable personality, um, but at the same time extremely closed off to any real depth with anybody that's not Cubby. And it also was a huge motivation for why she pretended, their hookup never happened and, why it's like, no, we don't have anything to talk about and like everything's fine. Because she's always had to pretend with her parents. And so the people that are supposed to, keep her safe and love her and, make her, allow her to be her truest self, that's all she knows of like these people that you're supposed to trust. And so she has this trust with Cubby and she doesn't know how to be honest though fully. So yeah, and yeah, some parents just suck. And like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
you gotta call it like you see it.
But not our parents. So
No, none of ours. Our parents have never made a mistake.
This reminds me of like a Crazy Ex-Girlfriend song that we could be writing right now. Like, we've never made a
Yeah,
mistake ever.
ever. Never in our lives.
a lot of Crazy Ex-Girlfriend, because at one point you were like, "Oh, people love self-flagellations," and I was like, "You did ruin everything, you stupid bitch." So,
I love that song. Every
Always.
now and then I'll just blast it in my car to make myself feel better.
uh,
Oh, I love everything about that.
Well, we've talked a lot about like the like development of the book and everything, but this is a since we're talking about Darcy, this is a love story. And I think it's
Mhm.
interesting because from the get-go, we're essentially told who the love interest is. Sometimes the story kind of develops as you move on and you're like, "Oh, this person is the love interest." But I really loved how we saw these two characters who just like really held a big place in each other's hearts, struggle to admit that they were in love. And
Mhm.
I was wondering if this type of love story was harder to create compared to other books that you've written, or maybe in what
I
ways was it
think,
different for you to
yeah,
make this one?
it was definitely a harder one, especially with how close they are and then how much distance they create kind of early on. Um, and I do realize that like from a reader's perspective, it's probably kind of frustrating in that sense where you're like, okay, when are like can we kiss and make up and all of these things? And so that yeah, that was like a really challenging part with this book because so much they were almost they were so reliant on each other as best friends that there was almost a level of codependency there. Especially where, you know, for Darcy, Cubby is her safe person. And, you know, Cubby's like sense of familial love or, you know, motherly love comes from Cubby's moms. And so her whole sense of like, you know, ideal family and support and love is wrapped up in this person. And then when you add this romantic element to it, it's like, how does that ever work? How would I ever recover or survive, you know, a breakup, any of those things? Um, and so they kind of needed to take a step back from each other to learn who they are without each other, and then make that choice where it's like, I'm picking you. I'm choosing to be brave when this is really, really scary. Um, because I realize now that it's so much worse and so much harder, you know, without that. Like they're acknowledging that there is that romantic element. You can't flip that switch off. And so it'd be so cool if you could though. Um uh but yeah, I think a friends to lovers story is I personally find it really difficult to write. Because I think that there's so many like slice of life moments. And they're already so comfortable with each other
Mhm.
too. That the drama really comes from this idea of like fucking up that comfort, which is so internal, and you have less of like the combativeness of enemies to lovers, or
Mhm.
you know, some of the tropes that are more like fire sign tropes, you know?
Mhm.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Just a water and air sign now everywhere. No. Uh something I really love deeply about your works, and you mentioned this a little bit where you were like, once you know the rules of romance, you get to play with other things. And it's something I've noticed in all of the books I've read of yours is the fact that like you have real world stakes in these like very happy rom-coms with these happily ever afters. One that sticks with me, small spoilers for the plus ones, like it deeply resonated with me as someone who went to law school that you didn't just like do away with student loans, that there were serious consequences to choosing a different
Mhm.
type of life. Um, like why is it important to have those real world elements in like student loans or sacrificing fame for your mental health or like Darcy's role of like choosing love over her parents? Like what makes that important for you to bring into your stories?
I think that I just find people so interesting and I find them so unpredictable. And so, you know, I, like I mentioned before, I'm autistic. And so I've spent a lot of my life studying people, and kind of trying to, yeah, I guess in some ways decipher different codes or like, you know, learn social norms or things like that, or, kind of have like a predictability compass of like what the outcome of something's going to be. And then that became really exhausting and really challenging in a lot of ways where I would almost be frustrated when people when I'm like, but I know the social rules and you're not following them. So like what are we doing now? And so I think that fiction and writing romance in particular has been this super fun's kind of a weird word for it because it is like a lot of, you know, high stakes feelings and situations they find themselves in. But it's fun for me to put these people in these things that are, you know, affect so many of us and see how they react or how they tick. And I always just think about books in the sense of like being a snapshot of a moment or, you know, a moment in history or culture, things like that. And I think about, you know, what eats at me, like what worries me, what keeps me up at night. Student debt has been a huge, huge worry. And like, I think it's really financially crippling for so many people. And or fame or social media or like, this generative form of connections, but like really we're just getting like these dopamine hits from likes and clicks and interactions. And yeah, and so I guess it's honestly just because I gave up on real world people. So like I just have more fun like taking these situations and then seeing what my characters do because they're as unpredictable to me as real people, but um I can at least have words with them um
You can have little
privately.
powwows and be like,
Yeah.
listen, Cubby, you gotta get it
Yeah.
together.
I'm like, girl, I need you to lock in. Please, please brush your
Just go
teeth.
talk
My
to
God.
Darcy. Oh yeah, the
Yeah.
teeth.
I know, I
What a
know.
dentist little
That
added, but I
kind
was
of
like,
gave
oh
me
my
nightmares
gosh.
a little bit because I have
I
put
know.
off getting my wisdom teeth removed for the longest time. And then it's mentioned like a lot of people in their 30s and 40s have impacted
Yeah,
wisdom. And I
yeah,
was like, so stop. This cannot
yeah.
happen.
I
Oh my
was like,
God.
I did read this book to be called out. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah.
Please don't let my
And
dentist get this.
I know. And I have to, well, so part of that too is because like I've been told my whole life, I am an active dentist. I've been told my whole life I don't have wisdom teeth. I had one randomly sprout a month before my wedding. And I was like, what the hell is
Like
happening?
it
Like,
just
what is
grew.
this? It just came out of nowhere and it was growing on the roof of my mouth. And so yeah, it
Well,
was
no
like
one thought to check
bananas.
there.
Yeah, no one looked there apparently. And so that was bananas. And so I had to get it out. But I had to do it after the wedding because I didn't want to be all swollen. No, but I've been tagged in a couple of like less positive reviews, and people are so pissed off about Darcy, or I mean Cubby's post-op after getting her wisdom teeth out, and that cracks me up because I'm like, y'all, I'm so sorry. Like, I don't
You're
mean
like,
to
if there's
like,
going to be one thing that's
yeah,
very
yeah,
realistic, it's going to be
That
the dentistry.
honestly,
yeah.
I had a moment where I was like, is this realistic? And I was like, she's a dentist, Tano. Move
Yeah,
on.
I know. I was like,
We're gonna
the
forget about all of the band stuff. But
yeah, I'm like the shit that I see patients do after an extraction, like this was nothing. Like, I
well, everyone
so
always
what?
listens to their doctors so
Of
closely
course.
that
Yeah,
there's no
yeah.
way that
I
anyone would
will
ever.
say this is a very funny story because I was born without a wisdom tooth, but like one of them they just had to pull, and my sister had a
Yeah.
bad reaction to like the meds they gave her when they pulled out hers. And so I just like walked out after they pulled out a wisdom tooth, and I don't think she's ever been angrier with me in my entire life than me being like, "What? Let's head out. Let's get a milkshake."
That's good. That's
Like
good.
it's
We're good.
fine.
Let's go. Let's
Like,
ride. Let's ride, sister.
Oh my. I might have nightmares about all these dental things.
Just don't use straws after you get an extraction. That's like the thing.
Okay.
Like, yeah.
beautiful.
Yeah, and a
Okay.
waffle is a great food to eat after you get your wisdom teeth out. It's soft. Anything on the Waffle House menu except the T-bone, you're good to go. Like, that's what I tell my
You
patients.
heard it here, guys.
Interesting.
You heard it here first.
Waffles are great for your teeth.
Well, I didn't say that. But yeah.
Well, Maisie, so you mentioned that you are autistic and you have a lot of characters who are neurodivergent. And so you have like Oliver, who is autistic, Tilly has ADHD, and actually they're like a great combo, like the autistic ADHD couple. I thought they worked together really well in my
Couples
mind.
that stim together.
Yes, I
Yeah.
mean honestly, Tilly's pacing all over the place. Yeah, it was awesome. But we also have Lizzie who has ADHD, and there's others too. But I really
Mhm.
appreciate like how you have moments where these characters are questioning themselves based on the expectations of others. And I'm specifically thinking of like moments where like Lizzie's friends were like calling her out, like, get your shit together. You're so unorganized. We're just so sick of this shit. And like Tilly's family kind of
Mhm.
being incredibly overbearing where they're like,
Yeah.
did you get this? Did you get this? You have
Yeah.
do a checklist for this, blah, blah. And it's like, okay, this is a young adult. It's
Yeah.
stop. But
Please.
I
Please.
was kind of wondering if there were like specific moments that you've written that kind of stood out to you more specifically in like your depictions of neurodivergence.
Yeah, I think all of them speak to me on some level. I've always aimed to portray neurodivergence or, something like general anxiety disorder or depression in a way where somebody could point to it and be like, somebody that hasn't experienced those things can have a sort of physical sense of like what that might feel like and try to make it visceral. So there's like that level of understanding or empathy. And then somebody that does have it can point to it and say, to a loved one or something like this is how I feel X, Y, and Z. And that's a very big, lofty goal, and it's intimidating in so many ways, but that's what I always strive for in the portrayal of it. Um, and yeah, I think, I think what sticks out to me a lot is kind of leaning into the joy of it, or like kind of, especially with my ADHD characters getting, you know, um kind of in the wave of it, and with hyper focus or, a special interest or things like that, because it can be really upsetting and like debilitating to get trapped in a hole, but there can also be so many like beautiful things that come from it, or so much fun. And I think it's all just the moment, like what you have the capacity for, and everything like that. But with Tilly's writing and the way that she would get engrossed and kind of view the world, I had so much fun with that. And then Oliver, his color theory, and his love of colors, and kind of like expressing himself and translating the world through colors. I really, really enjoyed that because
Mhm.
one, I learned so much about color theory.
I was like,
And
you
so
have done
like
so much research as I was
I
reading.
have. I have done so much research on color theory and flowers and erotic baked goods,
Cakes
like
and cakes
cake.
make an appearance in
Yeah,
multiple books. We've got toe
yes,
cakes. We've
yep.
got
I know,
sugar
the
cakes.
toe cake. Yeah, and I think that that's like essentially like I get to pick a special interest and then deep dive into it. And so, um, yeah, those have all felt really fun and exciting for me. And then, um, in the plus one, Jude, the hero, he is suffering from chronic PTSD, and
Mhm.
um, that was one of the hardest books to write. And how it exists now was actually a rewrite that was drastically different than the original story, and I did that in like 4 weeks. So talk about like a hyper focus. But I remember when that book went up on NetGalley, I cried so hard, and I was like, oh no, what have I done? Like that is such a personal feeling depiction, and that felt really terrifying. And then he ended up being like one of my most beloved characters. And
That
like,
was my on-ramp into being a super fan of yours.
yeah,
So yeah.
yeah. And I think that in retrospect, like, being very honest, and being very raw, and like what I sit down and bring to the, or give to the page and things like that. That was a really beautiful moment because it was very scary. And I think that I feel that way with You Won't Forget Me. And I feel super protective over Cubby because I know that there's a lot of elements of her that are difficult and rough and prickly. And I think that depression is just a really hard thing to experience. I think it's really hard to see a loved one going through it. And so, I think it's a really hard thing to read about too. And so, we'll see what happens when the book comes out. But right now I'm still kind of in like the fear stage of it all, but I'm like, well, here we go.
Well, I get not to be like the person who's always like, oh, your roughest characters who take the most out of you, those are my favorite. Not to be that person.
Yeah.
But This was like one of the biggest sections for me where I felt like very resonant is, well, it's not a spoiler that Cubby is suffering from depression, but she's also the first to admit that she has a very supportive family and she has a very good life. She even mentions in a section that I felt deeply seen in that she doesn't think she should be depressed because her issues aren't as large as others. And
Mhm.
that's like ripped from most of my headlines. But what was it like building that character with her specific background and, having this new protective layer over her?
I didn't actually expect Cubby to be depressed. A lot of my characters, I feel like a therapist sometimes because my characters reveal their their idiosyncrasies to me as we go. And I never really set out to like write, this specifically or that. Um, and yeah, I think in some ways I was like, okay, like Cubby's book is going to be my first, like tiptoeing into the neurotypical mind. And then, I'm like, oh, maybe next
Veers off
time.
into depression.
Yeah, and I'm like, maybe next time. We'll see. One of these days I'll get them. I will pin down the neurotypical. I will do it.
You're right about
Um,
Connor. That'd
yeah.
be a
Oh, I'd
really
rather
depressing
not.
book.
Yeah, yeah. I'd rather rip my fingernails off. Um,
Connor's just sitting there going, fuck Trevor in the corners.
Macy's next book comes out and it's like 6 pages long. We're like, what is this?
Guys, I'm ready to do a
Connor's
deep dive on
yeah,
story.
Connor.
Connor's story. Fuck Connor. Um, yeah. I honestly lost track of what the question was because that's so funny to
Oh,
me.
just about
Um,
like building
oh, her
Cubby
depression.
and her
Yeah, yeah.
depression. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think yeah, so I was like, okay, girl, like let's talk, like what's going on. And I do think that at least it's something that I've experienced personally where I'm like and I think that there's also a lot of that like infused into, therapy speak that's become very mainstream or like the concept of like toxic positivity too, where like, why are you depressed? Like, things are awesome. And that's just not how it is. Like, your brain's just not making the right chemicals, and you have to go buy some at the pharmacy. And yeah, and I think that that's something where it's like a lot of times we want to find a reason, and we want to find, and this is, in the real world and in fiction, we want to find a reason um, for sadness because, and I think that this is something that, not to like be such a dickhead and like quote myself, but like, Cubby kind of discusses how sadness isn't productive and it's not, it's not interesting. And I think that we kind of do have that mindset, right? Where it's like a depression is like this this deflation. And so it isn't just being sad, it's being unproductive. It's, sitting in bed. It's all of these elements that are so counterintuitive to like capitalism and, girl bossing, like all of these ideas that are so like what make us, push us forward and like we're programmed to believe or, moral superiority and stuff. And yeah, and so um with all of that, I think it was quite the challenge and I hope I met it. And I hope I did so in an interesting way. Um, because in a non-triggering way too, because like the last thing I want is like somebody to be super triggered by like a depressive episode by it. But yeah, I just she just told me the story that she wanted to do, and I was like, okay, damn bitch, like let's
Couldn't give
okay.
me my neurotypical book, had to give me my
Yeah.
depression one.
I'm like,
Like,
what happened to the road trip around Iceland? Like, what the hell? Like, I was like,
I wanted
oh,
to go on that trip.
yeah. I was like, and Icelandic publishers for sure gonna pick this up and then send me on tour to all the stops. And like, I had all these big dreams, and then Cubby has to be depressed. Ugh. Fuck
Had to
off,
go all the
girl.
way to Ohio, I
Yeah,
guess.
yeah. Bitches touring around the Midwest, like whatever, playing Atlantic City or no, Asbury Park. I can't even get them to Atlantic City, honestly. They weren't big enough yet.
She said no, thank you. So,
No, thank you. Mm-mm, no.
Well, I do think that You Won't Forget Me is like incredibly cinematic. And you mentioning like the tour and everything, I think you do such a great job like setting up the world, which is our world, but like the world that the characters exist in. And I was kind of wondering like what that process was like for this book with like the tour and the recording studio and coming up with the venues and everything compared to your other books, which are very different, where they're in like a medical school setting
Yeah.
or like late
A
bloomers
farm.
where they're on a
Yeah.
flower farm.
Yeah, I hadn't even thought about that, but all the other ones have been really confined, and like almost claustrophobic in some instances with that. Um, yeah, I literally was pulling out maps and I was like, does this make sense? And then it didn't. So then I had to like throw in a line where I'm like, this doesn't make sense, but we're going like but I love music. And so I think all of the venues mentioned are real venues in those
Mhm.
cities.
Okay.
Um, and so some of them I've been to, and then others I was like, getting on the Instagram tags of the place to like look at what it would look like from this perspective or that one. Um, and yeah, I just thought like, okay, what are like really music, like very important music cities outside of it being like the very obvious ones of, Nashville or LA. There is some New York there. But like Cleveland has so much like, and that's where I'm
Mm.
from, and so I love Cleveland, and I needed to bring Tilly back in there, but like that has so much rock and roll history and things like that. And yeah, I did have a lot of fun like playing with the locations, and then also the journey to get there and how unglamorous it is to deal with with a bus, and like when you're with stinky people, and especially at like in your early 20s where everybody's just like hormones out the yin yang and like
People bringing
stinky,
their
and
girlfriends that you've never met before.
yeah, yeah, you're like sharing some french fries in your twin bed, like yeah, and then it's too much. And so yeah, I had a lot of fun with that. And um the final showcase and everything was one thing that I did make up. But that was just because I love Bruce Springsteen so much. And so like I just wanted to
Dig
get
it.
I wanted to give him a little like shout out and everything. Oh, and I do remember looking at Noah Kahan's tour schedule for his first album, the one with Stick Season on it. Like that's how long ago I started writing this book. And I copied a few of those places too, because I was like, okay, where's he going? Because like at the time he was kind of at the level that I was like envisioning their band being
Hmm.
at. And so now it's like that's ridiculous. But like at the time I was like, okay, he's going to Vermont. Like, yeah, they can fuck off to Vermont or where, yeah, I think it was Vermont. I'm like, so yeah.
I was honestly expecting a stick season reference when you said Vermont, that I was like, oh
Mm, yeah.
Yeah, well,
no.
that's where I came up with that idea
Yeah,
because I was like, I saw that he had a tour stop there, and I was like, sure, that sounds
why
great.
not?
If it's good
Yeah,
enough for my boy Noah, like, yeah, hop in, girls, let's go.
let's go. No, that's amazing. How was it like writing the music? Because you do write lyrics in this. Like, was that a fun challenge for you?
I was so mortified, but I like committed to the bit because I was like, this is either going to be the worst thing I've ever done. And like gonna regret desperately like putting lyrics in a book. And maybe I will, I don't know. But then I went through essentially like my graveyard of scrap lines that I haven't that didn't make it to the final cut of different books and stuff. And like I was like, okay, some of these are bangers. Like, let's see what we're doing here. And yeah, so I was really nervous, but I am really happy with kind of where it went. And yeah, I was trying to, play with having it be in verse, and the lyrics that do pop up. Um, I was trying really hard to make them interwoven to like the story or what the characters are feeling, especially when Cubby's working on something specifically, and like it is in reference to something internal that she's going through that moment, or like a foreshadowing for what's coming next. And then one thing that, since we're kind of doing this, well, we're recording this early, but it comes out on release day. So little spoilers for you guys, I guess. But
I love to have spoilers.
I yeah, the final copies have some scrap lyrics that I got to
Mhm.
handwrite in the margins. And then like
Cool.
as if I'm Cubby, and like scratch things out and do little doodles and stuff. And then the audiobook, like the first, they asked if I wanted to try to get music added to the audiobook. And I was like, again, this could be so cringy, or this could be so awesome. And we hired a composer to like compose music for the lyrics, and then the audiobook narrator, I can't think of her name right now, which is terrible. But she sings the songs in there, and I like they sent me a sample, and I actually started crying. And I've never done that with like any of my work. Like I try to have like a 6 degrees of separation by the time it gets to that point. But like hearing that was like so surreal to me, and it sounded so beautiful. And I was like, well, shit, who wrote that? Like that.
Oh,
I was like, that was like one of the first moments I'd had that experience where I was like, okay, like who did that? Like, is that what, she is I? Like, what do I? It felt very similar to when I put my face on Instagram and gave the people what they
You're like, this is what
wanted.
everyone wanted. No,
I'm like, okay, fine.
that's lovely to hear because like every time like I love hearing music and songs. I always talk about like listening to the Hunger Games on Audible or like on audiobook and
Mhm.
like listening to them sing the songs is some of my favorites. So everyone go listen to the audiobook and listen to
I
some of
just looked up the
that.
narrators. Abigail Hardiman and
Yes,
Alexander Veradian.
that
Veradian.
yeah, that is for the very, very end.
Okay.
Mhm.
But yes, yeah. I feel like when I, and again, I'm not like the audiobook feels so separate from like something I created. So like when I heard the sample of it, I was like, okay, I hope this wins awards because they did such a good job, like production value wise. I'm like,
I
that's
love
so cool.
that.
Like, yeah, I was like, this is so dope. So I have not heard the final thing,
You
but
have a
like I can only
great team then
imagine.
because your
Yeah,
cover is awesome too. We were talking about
yeah.
that before we started recording,
Hmm.
that you have a beautiful cover to this book, which is it looks like a movie or not a movie poster, a band poster.
Yep. Yeah, that was Jennifer Prince is the illustrator, and I sent her a bunch of like tour posters and a bunch of Fleetwood Mac ones in particular. And yes, she captured the font so well and the framing, and she did Late Bloomer. And so because of that, and so Late Bloomer was her first sapphic cover that she got to illustrate, which I thought was like so cool. And so she added like the little flowers on the cover of You Won't Forget Me as a nod
Oh,
to Late Bloomer. Um,
Oh,
yeah, which I loved. And yeah, and so it's made to look like an old school tour poster and everything. Yeah, so very, very lucky in the artistic realm with all of that. Because yeah, and I'm such a huge fan of her art in general. She's incredible.
beautiful.
Somebody I did like there was half a second where people were in my comments section on Instagram, and they're like, if she's a bassist, why is there six strings on, her instrument? And they're like, this is AI. And I'm like, no, it's not AI. I'm just dumb and didn't notice. And like, and I'll tell you, it went through a lot of people that didn't notice either. But I have the rough sketches, so don't you dare come for my Queen
oh
Jennifer.
my
I
gosh.
will ride at dawn. Like,
That actually
yeah,
makes it like sometimes when it's those little mistakes, I'm like, that makes it
Hmm.
less likely to be AI
yeah.
because
Yeah,
you would be shocked how many people read through something 5 times over and then they're like, you misspelled this word. And you're like,
Oh,
who didn't check
all the
that?
time. All
Like,
the time. All the time. There was a print run where my last name was spelled wrong and I didn't notice.
yeah.
Like and none of us did. I mean,
Yeah.
the amount of people it went through, like it was crazy. So like,
that's
you
just a
know,
hilarious example,
I know,
actually.
yeah. But it happened. Like,
But
it
also
is
it's
the
the thing
little
you're gonna
things.
like not focus on because you're like,
Yeah.
well, of
Yeah.
course my name's right. And
Obviously,
then
they'll get
Yeah.
my
two
name
months
right.
later, you're like, oh, I guess it's not right.
I'm
So
like,
yeah.
but I didn't even notice that somebody had to point it out to me, and then I was like, eh, it doesn't matter. Like it's not my business. It's so not my business. Like
Sounds like none of my business.
yeah, sounds like I am not personally harmed, so whatever. I can live with
You,
it.
you won't forget me, but you may misspell my last name. It's
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah, that's actually really funny.
So, Maisie, I love that, like, in your books, we get to see characters from your other works appear. And, like, in You Won't Forget Me, we got to see the return of Ollie and Tilly and even Harper.
Mhm.
And at the end of the book, and just slight spoiler, we're kind of teased with some characters who might have a spark between them. Do you think that
Mhm.
we'll get to see these characters reappear, or do you think that we will see Cubby return and learn more about what happened between her and Dirtbag or any
Yeah,
of that?
yeah. Yeah, we'll find out what happened to Dirtbag. I yeah, that's one of my favorite things is to add little cameos. So, in You Won't Forget Me, there's a scene where Harry's doing an interview, and it's actually with the main character of Well, Actually.
Mhm.
And in Well, Actually, the whole book opens with that interview. And so I had written a version of Cubby before, Well, Actually, and so that's why I added that one in there. But yeah, I love doing that. I think it's so fun for me to like catch up with my characters too.
Hmm.
Yes, there is a not so subtle hint at a pairing. I I don't know. I have not been it has not been discussed. I'm like still I'm still in the restaurant. I know I'm still hung up on still wanting to do the Devlin sisters from Late Bloomer. Like
Oh
I
yeah.
still want
Yes.
to do
Hmm.
Opal's
Hmm.
sisters. So I'm like still in that mindset where I'm like, okay, but wait, before we even go there, like let me return to my babies.
Hmm.
Um, but I do imagine I have a like a that like I haven't talked about yet. I probably can't, I don't know. But there's a perfect kind of scenario to check back in with a lot of these characters from You Won't Forget Me specifically. And yeah, I would love to honestly also do a Skull and Deja like
Oh,
novella where they're just
they're
looking
just
at each other. They're just
they're
smoking
just
pot.
the most like normal. Those will be your neurotypical
I'm just
people
like
where they're just
picturing a
Yeah,
like, "Hey, we're
novella where it's
hanging
like a
out and we're fine."
I
I'm just
know.
like picturing a novella where it's like a documentary about the band and we're getting like all of the
Oh
like
my God.
tea on them and I would
Yes.
love it.
I also would just, but like that's the
Can
problem is
I
like it would
can
be
I do that?
please do, but it would just be so funny to have Skull and Daisha in the corner and they're like, "How did you two meet?" And they're like, "Online." And then they ask more questions. They're like, "I don't know, online."
No,
And it's
it's
just
like
like the
they're
most
making out and
basic.
then like
Yeah.
during the interview and they're like,
Yeah.
please stop for a second, sir.
Yeah. Could we're rolling. We're rolling. We're rolling. And they just don't care. Yeah, at any given moment. Yeah. They are so in love. There would be forget a third act breakup. There would just be no conflict because they just are
Yeah.
so in love and so perfect.
I
But
just love
yeah,
when they're like, everyone kisses everyone, and Skull's like, not me. I only
yeah.
kiss Deja.
Yeah.
I
Skull's
loved
like,
Skull from the minute that we learned that he needed to
I
be
know.
called Skull. Like when I say that this book is so cinematic, listeners, it is incredibly cinematic from the prologue. The prologue gets me where I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna love it." And then the first chapter, we have this band that's kind of trying to hash things out, and one of the characters is like, "I would like to be called Skull,"
In the middle of
and
Yeah,
people screaming at one
I
another, and
know.
they all just kind of
and
look
they
over and
all
they're
just
like,
like look over,
okay.
like, "Okay, you've
Yeah.
never talked."
Yeah. Actually, first time I've ever heard your voice. Like, good deal. And I honestly love that they all honor it. Like
Yeah.
Yes.
they're just like,
I forgot what
okay,
his name
like
was later on in the
I
book where I was
honestly, I
like,
was like,
what
what
was his
is
name
his name again? I like that everyone's just ride or die. They're like, that's what he said his name was. We
yeah,
accept
that's
his
his
reality.
name.
again? We
So,
Yeah,
all
yeah.
that
became
is his name.
dedicated to that nickname.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
No, I was like typing something out and I was like, wow, I really just went balls to the wall with names in this one. And like I didn't mean to at all. I like I knew somebody in high school who was named Cubby, and I just thought that was the coolest name.
It is.
And so
It's
a copy
cool.
editor was like, "Is this short for something? Like elaborate, like full name?" And I'm like, "No, like it's her
I'm so
name."
sorry. She has two moms and they are
Yeah,
so supportive that they're like,
yeah.
Oliver,
I'm like,
never hide your truth. You
yeah,
don't look at people in the eye if you
yeah,
don't want to. And your
never do
sister's
it.
name is Cubby. It's fine.
Yeah,
So
it's fine. We're lesbians.
It's also one of those things though where like if you are named Cubby, I feel like you're destined to be like in a rock band or
Greatness.
something
yeah,
like that.
Oh,
Like
you
seriously.
have to
you have to
be.
be.
Check in on
Yeah.
that high school friend because she's in a rock
Hmm.
band.
She
Hmm.
probably no, she's probably honestly she's probably ruling the world at this point. I think if you have that name, you're just like a very like
Yeah.
nothing can touch you. Like you're destined for greatness.
Well,
Hmm.
I mean, we
Yeah,
think
and then
so.
yeah, yeah. And then Kale, and I was like, it's all just so
That made me
silly, but
giggle
like
a lot, actually.
I
I
know.
was like, we can't call him Harry Kale.
Yeah, because that would be ridiculous.
We'll just call him Kale
I
and
loved how
make the
many
jokes
times
about how
Cubby
bitter
was
he
like,
is.
you terrible roughage. And it's
Yeah.
just like,
I
You
mean,
bitter
honestly,
vegetable.
I just like I was like in the throes of, Cubby being down bad. And so that was like making me laugh. And so I was like, it's stay. So many things like that have just been where I was like, oh, I'm sure this will get flagged by my editor, or like we'll deal with this later. And then it's just never brought up. And then like, and I'll forget about something too, like the peanut butter and the plus one. I totally forgot all about that. And because I was like so sure my editor would be like, oh, too much. Like let's like reevaluate, this. And then no, and then now I have readers bringing me jars of peanut butter.
oh,
Really?
beautiful.
That's
So
amazing.
yeah, I know. I think that's so funny. Um, but yeah, so I the
Are you
names
ever
in this
like,
book
did
are
you
so
open this? Because if you did, I need to give it back.
yeah, like oh, okay, but this is opened and there's actually like a hand-sized scoop out of it, but
Yeah,
here you go.
You
please
just
only give
really
me
like
closed
peanut
jars that
butter.
I can add to my pantry. So.
Yeah. I'm like, oh, actually, I am fully allergic to peanut butter. No, no, I'm not. I love
That
Reese's
would
so
be
much, but
such a
like, I know,
such a
and that'd
get.
be,
Like, oh, I'm
yeah, that
allergic.
would be. I'd be like, what are you poisoning? What are you doing? What's happening? But yeah, that's me at
Well,
most times anyway.
well, we are huge fans of this book. Everyone
Hmm.
should go get it.
Go
Uh,
get it now.
Maisie,
And
something
actually,
we
the
ask.
audiobook too.
Yeah, go get the
Yeah.
audiobook because I want to listen to that music. But
Mhm.
Maisie, before we let you go, we do ask one thing of all of the people who come on, which is something you're reading, watching, and or enjoying. It can be a book, it could be a recipe, it could be anything you want, and you don't have to name one for every single thing I just said. But could
Or
you
you
tell
can name all of
listeners
them.
something
Yeah.
you're reading, watching, and or enjoying?
I am reading. So I'm finishing up a gothic romance right now that I'm
Mm,
writing. And I'm putting the horror in romance. And
what a
and
line.
thank you. Thank you. And I'm reading this book and it's actually super interesting, but it's just called Gothic, an
Mm.
illustrated history. And it's like a textbook, but it's so digestible, like it's so interesting. So I really love that one, and which I'm sure it's gonna fly off the shelves after after that. But I am excited to be done with it though because it's so heavy and I'm just carting it in my backpack everywhere I go, and I'm like, oh, this actually feels like junior year and I'm in AP Lit again. Um, um,
Let
and
me give you a
then
dissertation on Wuthering Heights right now.
yeah, oh,
So,
I would love it. I would eat that. Oh, and then watching, I have a lot of things I want to watch. I I am watching like the F1 documentary on
Mm,
Netflix, which is
mm.
like very out of character for me because I could not give two shits about sports. And also driving, I was like, oh, what? I am so fascinated by the intricacies of Formula One. And so then I was like, when I started watching, I'm like, okay, well, they're all beautiful people. I'm sure I'll like it for that. Like, that's not even my top reason for watching anymore. I'm like, I don't know who I am. Like, I don't know who I've become. Like, am I a sports fanatic? Like, what is this? I mean, so bizarre. Talk about an identity crisis. So yeah, I'm in that, but I haven't watched in a while. And then this is kind of like, I don't know, wild, but well, maybe it's not. I love falling asleep to Dateline episodes.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
I fall asleep to Law and Order, so you and me
oh
were
yeah. When
like
when Keith Morrison is just in that deep gravelly voice, he's like, it was a rainy day in Virginia, but not for this couple. Like nothing lulls me to sleep quite like that. Yeah, and I just love him. So that's what I'm watching. And then what was it, cooking? Um, I'm always cooking, ladies. That was terrible. Oh my God. Yeah, maybe that needs to
Cooking
be
with
cut and post.
words.
Yeah. I what have I been cooking? Because I feel like I did make a real banger recently, but I've been so deep in this deadline that everything's a
If you said you made
blur.
an erotic cake, I would have like laughed hysterically. Like,
Oh, I wish I did try and it went so bad because I didn't have like the right molds for it. So then I was trying to carve it and then it was just like cake everywhere. Like it's not
my
it's not as malleable as you think.
I used to I was a maid of honor in two weddings back to back, and I made penis cakes for them, and my mom helped me frost them because I had a very supportive mom. And
I
then
love
she
that.
used the leftover frosting on my grandma's birthday cake. My grandma was like, "Why is it this funny color?" And like none of us said anything. And like we all just giggled like outside the room, being like, "Grandma doesn't realize it's penis frosting."
It's
Like
penis colored, grandma.
leftover penis.
It's foreskin color.
it is foreskin. It is the color of flesh, and it was really good because my mom's best friend decorated cake, so she knew how to make it. Like,
It's flesh colored and flavored. Ugh, oh
oh
God.
no.
Oh. Um,
Maybe
awful. That
not.
just made me gag in my own. Yeah, that was so bad. Yeah, I don't even know the last time I had a vegetable, to be honest with you.
Oh,
So maybe I'm not cooking that much. Um,
totally fine. We can move
Valid.
on to that next
yeah.
because our final question for you is where can people find you and find your book out today?
I am on the internet. Oh my God, I forgot my handle. Maisie at mainly on Instagram at Mazey Eddings. And I have a Substack where I write my little newsletters. I don't even know how you get there. There's just like
Google it,
Google,
guys.
like Google.
I'll
If
put it
you
in the
if
show notes, people.
Check
yeah,
those
I got
out.
so
you.
hop on the Goog, take it from there, and then www.mazyeddings.com. And then you can get the book wherever books are sold, but you should get it from your independent bookstore. And there's really gorgeous pre-order art, and I think some of it's hopefully going to still be available at Malaprops, my local indie, and they're amazing. And you should buy all your books from there, actually, because they ship internationally,
Nice.
and I love
Beautiful.
them. And then the audiobook you should get from Libro FM because,
Boop, boop.
again, support indies, but anywhere
Yes.
audiobooks are sold.
Or check them out at your local
Amazing.
library because those are
Yeah,
also
Yes.
important.
libraries. Yeah.
Yeah. Uh,
And oh, I was just gonna say, and if your library doesn't have it, ask them for it because
Hmm.
they love to get things.
They love patron requests.
Yes.
Absolutely.
well, Maisie, thank you so much for your time today.
Yeah.
We really
This has been
appreciate
a great
you.
discussion.
Listeners,
Thank
tune in
you
tomorrow
guys.
for all of our local or regularly scheduled content and where to
Yes.
find us at OWWR Pod. Thank you, Maisie. You're welcome back
Thank you.
anytime.
Oh, please,
Yes.
I'll just like join in your team and then we don't have to talk about me and we can just talk about
Yes.
books in general. I would love that.
Perfect.
Next one, we're all gonna read Gothic and illustrated history and then
You know what?
Am I
We're
right?
going to be
probably
bored by
here for
that?
it.
It sounds like I
Like,
would be
Yeah.
bored.
yeah.
Yeah, amazing, amazing. Thank you so much. This was so much fun and have a great or oh God, I don't know where I was
Day.
going with that.
Everyone go buy the book. Bye.
Bye.